Hey guys, and welcome to another video. So it's been a long day, but I needed to film these reviews. So we're gonna be doing some couch reviews today, and I'm gonna get all comfortable. So today I'm gonna be reviewing Blood of My Blood episode 1. It's been a week or longer since I've watched the episode. I have really fallen behind in filming reviews for things. So I'm going to do my best to try to remember. It won't be a specific play-by-play. So let's get right into this. So for those of you who don't know, Blood of My Blood is a prequel to the show Outlander. And it is about Jamie. The main characters in Outlander, the main romance is Jamie and Claire. So the prequel, Blood of My Blood, is about Jamie's parents and Claire's parents. Jamie's parents in the 1700s and Claire's in the 1900s. So until we started the show, I didn't actually know what specific era it was. So Claire's parents are in 1914 and then Jamie's is in 1714. So episode 1 starts off with Jamie's mom, Ellen Mackenzie, and the essential premise of the whole first episode is revolving around the fact that Ellen Mackenzie's father has died. So her father died and the clan is now leaderless, and he didn't choose a heir. He favored Ellen as his, but she's a daughter, so she can't be the laird. And even though he favored her, she has two brothers, Dougal and Colum. So one of the things that I noticed when we were watching it is that all of the younger, a lot of the characters in this show are the younger versions of characters that we know from Outlander. And it was really fun to see them. I feel like Colum and Dougal, they picked really good younger actors of them. And I loved that this kind of expanded and kind of, opened up our eyes into the history between the two brothers and how and why it's so tense in Outlander. So much makes sense in Outlander when you view it through the lens of Blood of My Blood. And I feel like that's what a good prequel is supposed to do, is kind of give you insight into what it's coming before. So Colin, I swear some of them, Colum's actor sounds like the adult version, but younger. They look, the mannerisms, Dougal and his mannerisms and his behaviors and the way he acts and stuff is very Dougal-like. It looks like the older actor. Ellen's sister, Jocasta, which we know from Outlander, she is the blind aunt of Jamie who lives in the American colonies. She has a plantation. Her younger self looks like her. What she would have looked as a younger person. So I don't know how they did the casting. She sounded identical to her. It was crazy. So getting to see that was really fun. And like I said, the political drama in this show, and by political, I'm talking more Scottish, clan, politics, is really fun. And that really kind of latched onto it. The history is so good. I'm still so fascinated with the time period. The way everything looks, the way everything feels, how they talk, is really good. I feel like the episode also did a really great job setting up, through flashbacks, setting up the relationship between Ellen and her father and showing how he did favor her because she's essentially the perfect heir, except for the fact that she's a woman. And it's really sad because there's moments where he mentions that very crudely to her, and it's oof, that stung a little bit. And how Colum can't really walk very well because of his injury and his disease. I don't know if the disease has progressed yet, but right now has that injury, so he can't walk. And then Dougal is just all brawn and no brain, so he doesn't really think. And so it's neither of his sons are what he wanted, and he never named an heir. And so this puts the clan in an interesting place. So it's Dougal versus Colum, and them trying to get support for either one to be the heir. And then you have this other guy who's trying to vie for power by pitting Colum and Dougal against each other, and he can swoop in. And so that's kind of the entire thing. We got to meet Jamie's dad, Brian. And I really love his character. I love his actor. I feel like he has black hair, which I think is accurate. So far I'm reading Outlander, so that seems accurate to how he was described. But anyways, he has black hair. Jamie has red hair. But other than that, he looks and his mannerisms and his behaviors really seem very Jamie-like. And so it really honestly legitly feels when you're watching him on screen that like, yep, that's Jamie's dad. Yep, that's where Jamie gets that from. That's where Jamie gets that from. And it's so cool. And that's what is supposed to be a nice prequel. I love Murtagh. So young Murtagh, again, impeccable choice for an actor, and his relationship with Brian is really fun. And they start to set up the whole Murtagh loved Jamie's mom, we know that, and then he became Jamie's godfather, and so that's why Jamie means a lot to Murtagh. And so getting to see that Murtagh was also his dad's best friend, also, so it like no wonder why Murtagh's so close with Jamie, because he was close with both of their parents. I feel like the Murtagh being in love with Jamie's mom comes off as more of a crush because he's never even talked to her. So I had assumed that there was a lot of history between the two characters based on when Murtagh especially tells the history to Claire in Outlander. During, I think, Jamie's missing and they're looking for him, Murtagh kind of goes into some of that. I feel like it implied that there was a lot more conversations going on that we haven't seen yet, but that may happen later in the show. If it doesn't, that's going to be the part that'll be a little disappointing, but Murtagh and Brian's friendship's really good. I like that they've established, because we know from Outlander that when Jamie and Claire had to go to see his grandfather, he didn't want to go. And the grandfather was basically a massive, massive jerk. So getting to see the younger version of him in his prime and how his relationship with Brian is so bad and toxic, and like you feel for Brian, you feel for anybody who has to deal with this grumpy man, like this horrible man. So establishing Jamie's grandfather is really good, and then the dynamic with Brian, and that also explains how, like, Brian being as soft as he is and having the personality that he does, and a lot of the behaviors that he kind of instilled into Jamie, like why Jamie is the way he is. Like, I'm reading the book right now and watching the episodes as I rewatching the Outlander episodes, and the part where Jamie stands in for Leary and takes the punishment for her. I like that in the prequel, we have a similar situation with Brian. I think that might have been episode 2 though. And so it's like, that's where Jamie gets it from, kind of. And it's just like so precious. So overall, I feel like it was a solid first episode. Where it kind of ends with, in Brian's household with the grumpy dad, there's this maid and she's English. You can tell by the way she talks. And the grandfather, who's a mean jerk, seems to be giving her unwanted attention. And one of the other maids or the household people that we think is Brian's mom warned her not to be alone in the Lord's presence, in the grandfather's presence, because of the way he is around women. And so then we realize that's actually Claire's mom. So it actually did supersede my expectations, because I genuinely thought that we were going to go to her parents in the present and then lead into them being in the past, not where we're in the past and she's already there. So yeah, solid first episode in my opinion. It kept me intrigued and we immediately wanted to watch episode 2. It was a 2-episode premiere, so I think we watched it in 2 different days because we were playing a video game with my cousin, so we didn't have a whole lot of time to watch it, but if we had the time, we would have watched it in one go. So overall, solid episode. I really liked it. I was intrigued, wanted to watch more. Something I forgot to note about the first episode that I remembered when I was reviewing the second episode was that part of the episode did deal with Ellen and Brian meeting. They had one conversation in a barn where she's hiding out because their suitors trying to find her. He's hiding out because they realize that he's from a different clan that's like an enemy clan, so he's trying to hide out. And so they meet, they have a conversation, and then the next time they end up meeting, they meet at this bridge, and they act like the bridge is going to be the chaperone, but then they cross the bridge and talk. And the way, I can't remember exactly what they say, but I remember that they've seen each other twice, and it's like a love at first sight, instant attraction kind of vibe. And they're talking so overly dramatic with each other that it feels like a cheesier version of Romeo and Juliet, but instant love and no context or any sort of real connection with each other. Like, y'all barely know each other's names okay, and it was really stupid, and I actually did not like it at all. And the focus of the show and like the premise and the way it's been portrayed as I've been following, because I've been following this story for years, like as we've been waiting for it to come out, seemed like it was more focused on Jamie's parents and their romance, and that would be the focus of the show. I do like that Claire's parents are in there, and as I've said in my review for episode 2, I love her parents and I love their romance, so we know that the show and the stuff and the writing is capable of writing a very good romance. They've done it with Claire's parents. It just makes me concerned for Jamie's parents, because a huge portion of that was when she was talking with Brian on the bridge, she was missing, and so her brothers freaked out, didn't know where she was. Dougal freaks out and goes after Clan Grant and ends up beating them up and causing this whole ordeal that when she gets back, they're yelling at her because they didn't know where she was and she's not going to say anything. And it's kind of building up as this, I want to be with him, and, you know, I love him, and, you know, I'm not going to betray him, and it just comes off as really stupid and cheesy and overly dramatic. The way they were talking and dialogue to each other was so overly dramatic. And the other thing is that Brian knows who she is. I think it would have worked better if, like, stealing from, honestly, Barbie at Rapunzel, where Rapunzel is meeting with the Ken, I can't remember his name, but and she doesn't know his name, and she doesn't want to know because of Mother Gothel questioning her and all that stuff. So I know that's a kid's movie, but follow me here. Where if he didn't know that she was Ellen Mackenzie, but he knows that she's Ellen Mackenzie, so he knows that she's from the other clan. He knows that she's got other suitors. He knows that not only does she have other suitors, but his best friend Murtagh is interested in her, and he's had a conversation with her, but it's not anything worth claiming her over Murtagh and how much he sees his friend interested. Granted, Murtagh has had no conversations with her either, so it's not like he's in love with her, but it all comes off as really overly dramatic for like no reason, and I'm worried they're not going to do Jamie's parents' romance justice when they're doing Claire's parents justice, if that makes any sense. So I wanted to tag that on before the end. Anyways, back to the main part of the video. So that is my review of the first episode of Blood of My Blood. So far, what did you think? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more writing and reading videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you liked this episode, episode 1, check out my review of episode 2.